the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Get on the Mic. That's where you put me in front of a microphone with a few notes and I talk about, well, whatever I feel like talking about this week. This week on the program, I'm going to start out the program talking about my trip with my son Andy to go see PJ Masks live, because I promised last week I would. We'll also be talking about WWE's Corey Graves being in hot water. Ryan Reynolds still has a dream project. The possible Han Solo sequels. The Return of the Jedi's original main villain, we'll talk about who that was supposed to be, Rambo 5, and then as a special treat for everybody, and I didn't think I'd be doing this, or didn't know I'd be doing this until today, I'm going to be doing a story time with Geno. We're going to be talking about my trip that I went to last night to go see Breaking In and my experience at the theater. But let's start with a happy story at least. Because, I don't want to start off too angry and then not be able to, put a smile on my face about this other stuff. First, we're going to be talking about my PJ Masks live trip with my son Andy. Last Friday, I took my oldest son Andy to see the PJ Masks live traveling stage show. They were going to be in Peoria, Illinois, which is about, an hour and a half away from me. So that was about as close as I got. So that was his late birthday present. His birthday was a few months ago, and now he gets to cash in on his birthday present. I'll tell you, this is the first time that just me and him have taken a fun type trip together. Just me and him. I gotta say this. I kind of like the TV show. Now, it's not one I'd watch on my own, but I really do enjoy watching it with him, because he's never really been, he likes superheroes okay, but I think he likes them because I like them. It's not really his thing, but he likes these superheroes, so it's kind of a way for him to get into superheroes, and he likes the whole secret identity thing and all that stuff, and the villains, and we try to guess who the villain's going to be and all that stuff, and by extension, we like to play the toys together and everything. And so we both have a good time with the show. Long story short, though, the live show is not for me. But, I didn't expect it to be for the adults there. It was, definitely for the kids. Counting intermission, the whole show was a loud and in-your-face, constantly going and going and going and going to keep the attention of the shortest of kiddo attention spans type of show. Just endless songs and just everything's always going. And yeah, it's definitely, just to keep your kids' attention. And I gotta say, there was a room full of kids, and they all seemed to enjoy it. That being said, I'm not saying that the show itself wasn't impressive in some aspects. The setup was really cool, I thought. The huge video screen in the background would supply the backdrop for whatever set they were on. If they were in the PJ Masks base, or if they were on the street or at the playground or whatever. That would set the backdrop, and then they would have mobile sets that looked like they came straight out of the cartoon, whether it be a vehicle or, like I said, a playground or whatever. And so the sets were really neat. I got to say that. The costumes, and this kind of goes into the acting as well, because I thought there's 6 main characters. There's Catboy, Owlette, Gecko. Those are the good guys. And then there's Romeo, Night Ninja, and Luna Girl. Those are the bad guys. And I thought the same way about the acting as I did the costumes. When it came to all 3 heroes and Night Ninja, the villain, the performances weren't great. And I think the reason they weren't so great, and plus the costumes were kind of weird. I mean, I was looking up the casting information, trying to figure out who the actors were because I wanted to credit them because a couple of them did really good. Couldn't find any of that, but I saw like the casting whenever they were casting what they were looking for, and they wanted actors from 18 to 33. So who knows how old these actors were, but they're supposed to be playing little kids. So that, I don't know, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really translate. For 4 of them, they did okay. I mean, they were fine. It was hit and miss, but of the 6, there was 2 of them that really stood out, and that was the actors that played the villains Romeo and Luna Girl. Having seen the cartoon a lot, you could tell that these 2 really studied the parts they were playing. Like, really studied up on them, because those 2 actors both looked and sounded like their cartoon counterparts. I mean, especially the guy that played Romeo. I mean, he had the voice down, he had the mannerisms down, and it was the closest thing to the cartoon was those 2 characters. And the others were they were fine. I think if they all would have been a little bit more evenly playing their characters, whether good or bad, the other performances wouldn't have stood out because the other 2 were so good. So I give them a lot of credit, because those 2 being really good at the parts kind of made the other parts, for the adults anyway, and for me especially, it kind of made the other parts kind of bad in comparison, which was kind of sad. But the show's not for me. My son had a heck of a time at the show, and he's already asking me, can we go to another one? He was asking, can we go to another one tomorrow? It's like, dude, I don't even know where they're going to be tomorrow. I know they traveled around the Midwest a little bit, but I don't know where all they went. And so I told him, someday, maybe we can go see it again, or if another show comes around, I hear there's a Paw Patrol one, and we had it come around here not too long ago. So I guess I have that to look forward to. Because, there's no job too big, no pup too small. Let's move on. And yeah, Andy had a great time. And those of you that asked about it, yeah, wished him wished him, hoping he was going to have a good time. He had a great time, and we had a good time. Coming up at the end of June, July, I won't say what it is in case he hears this, but I'm taking my other son on his birthday trip. And it's a big one, and I'll talk all about it whenever it happens. We're going to move on. We're going to be talking about WWE's Corey Graves possibly being in hot water with the company. As you all know, and those of you that listen to this podcast, I've been covering the fallout and controversies surrounding WWE's Greatest Royal Rumble that was held in Saudi Arabia over, not too long ago, 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was. But I've been talking about all the issues about women's rights, superstars from countries at odds with Saudi Arabia not being able to compete, Finn Balor's LGBTQ message not being allowed, etc. This last week, WWE commentator Corey Graves may have found himself in a bit of trouble with the WWE higher-ups. He posted a photo on Instagram with a message that the WWE, who, let's be honest, who are trying way too hard to impress Saudi Arabia for that Saudi money, didn't take too kindly. He posted a picture of a beer and wrote, quote, "A drink to remember that no matter how bad we think we have it, at least our women have rights, and we all have freedom of expression. Hashtag if you get it, you get it." End quote. In the Wrestler Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer had this to say about the situation, quote, "It was noted to us that his feelings were understandable, but that his statement should have been made privately. There were also people noting that he's more replaceable than he thinks he is," end quote. My take on this is, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Corey Graves. I'm not saying I dislike him, don't get me wrong. I just think that he has a lot of developing to do as a commentator. My biggest issue with him is, and maybe this really isn't his fault, because I've seen him on other shows and I like him. I mean, just anything they've ever had him do. He can't decide whether or not he's a heel or face commentator. You know, one minute he'll be bullying Byron Saxton, and then on the other side of the coin, he's hating on Elias, who's a big heel. You know, a heel commentator shouldn't be ripping on heels, you know, and things like that. But so, like I said, my issue is more character based, but I don't know if that's really his fault. If he's told to say these things or whatever, I don't know. You know, you hear many stories about Vince McMahon, you know, yelling in commentators' ears, telling them to say it, damn it, you know. So, I mean, there's Mick Foley, if you ever hear him talk about his short time commentating, he quit because he got tired of getting yelled at. Here's the thing, though. On a personal level, I am totally with him on this. And do I think he needed to keep it to himself? I don't think so. I mean, he's making a point. You know, we have freedom of expression. We can say what we want within limits. I mean, there's things like hate speech and things, but this is just him saying, look, you know, our lives might be bad, but at least we don't have to put up with that crap. That's what he's saying. You know what? More power to him. If he gets in trouble for it, at least he got to speak his mind. I seriously doubt he gets in trouble because he's doing pretty much every show on the commentator's booth. But, you know, here's the thing. The WWE needs to freaking decide what it wants to be. Okay? It's either a business that wants to make money, or, and don't get me wrong, it can be a little bit of both because it's got to make money. But what I'm saying is they're either going to be this business that makes all the money, or it's a company that wants to bring change, because they can't have it both ways. You know, you can bring about, you know, you can make money while bringing about change, but don't say, you know, we're trying to bring about change, but we can't change this over here. Stand up for yourselves. If you want to be something and stand up for yourself, you know, if you want to be something, stand up for yourself. Don't, you know, I mean, here's what drives me nuts. How can we, as the viewers, take them serious about any of their, quote, causes for change? Like, say, there be a star campaign against bullying, for example. How can we take them serious if on the other side of the coin, they, you know, sell their morals for a hefty payday overseas? You know, apparently I've been hearing that they paid the women superstars like they had performed, which, okay, that's nice of them that the women got a payday, but isn't that kind of insulting? I think, I mean, it's like, well, you can't participate, but here's money. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the women like the payday, but you know what they probably would have liked more? Freaking performing. You know, this whole thing, I want WWE to either, you know, because that's just it. Okay, the Backlash pay-per-view. I love what they're doing with Nia Jax. Her character is basically being bullied and made fun of by Alexa Bliss. And she beat Alexa Bliss for the title, and then she beat her again at the pay-per-view, at the last pay-per-view. And she got to do a speech about, you know, being yourself and standing up for yourself and loving who you are, and don't let anybody tell you any different, okay? I love the message. I love a hero like that because, I mean, Nia Jax is a bigger woman. I mean, she's a big powerhouse of a woman. You know, but she's just like, look, I'm being myself, and that's it. Well, that's just it. They're trying to get this message across, which is great, but then, you know, but we got to hold it back whenever we go to that other country. You know, if you're going to stand up for something, if you really want to stand up for something, which I know they do, because they unless they're just doing it as a PR stunt, doing all the Make-A-Wishes and the Be A Stars and the shows for the troops and all the other countless things that they are doing. You know, if it's just a PR stunt, well, you know what, I guess just a PR stunt and you're just there to make money. But you know what? I'm betting for a lot of those performers, it's not just a PR stunt. You know, I think a lot of them see, you know, an opportunity to do nice things and do good things and be positive role models. And yeah, I'm sure they're not all like that. I'm sure there's some that are just there for the money. And, you know, it's a business. But as a company, if you're going to stand up for something, stand up for something. I think they would have done better business in other places if they would have stood up to Saudi Arabia and said, look, you know, while we respect your culture, you know, we are not going to perform there. We cannot take this money because this is who we are as a company. Instead, they took that hefty payday. Probably because they're hurting a little bit. I'm willing to bet that business is down for WWE. There's no way it's up. And I'm not saying they don't have a lot of good stuff going on, but I don't know. This isn't the 90s anymore during the Monday Night Wars. The Attitude Era is dead. That money is dead. Those viewers are gone. You know, wrestling isn't what it used to be. It's just not the same. And if they're needing that money and they're willing to, you know, put aside what they are trying to be, that's, I don't know. I just can't. I can't support that. You know, it's just something that I want them to be something more, because I appreciate things like the Be a Bully program, which is kind of funny because, yeah, the Be a Bully program, and I know you can separate wrestling, the show, and the causes. I get that, but when they bring that stuff on air, like the Nia Jax bullying stuff, like Finn Balor's stuff being all-inclusive, that everyone is welcome, you can't have it both ways. Now, if you did that stuff on the side and not on camera, then, you know, there might be a different discussion there. I would still feel the same way, I think. But if you bring that stuff into your storylines, but then you have to hold back those things because to get paid, you can't have them, well, I don't know. You got to stand up. That's all I'm going to say about it today. The next thing I want to talk about is Ryan Reynolds. He still has a big dream project. All right, I'll have to set it up here. Despite the character being dead and the actor saying that he's done with the role, Reynolds still wants his Deadpool Wolverine team-up movie. When asked about all the different obstacles in his way, and we all know what they are, Reynolds had this to say, quote, he's talking about Wolverine, he's alive and well in my timeline. There is a Logan running around out there with a little bushy chest and his little sharpie claws, and he is alive and well and ready to go. I would love that, end quote. Of course, the biggest obstacle is getting Jackman to play the role again, which is what Reynolds really wants. If the constant trolling that Reynolds has been doing to Jackman lately isn't enough evidence. Reynolds had this to say about trying to get Jackman back to play the role again. Quote, I think convincing Hugh of that would be a near impossible feat, but there's no human being I love more than Hugh Jackman in that universe, and equally so as a friend. He's just the best. I already miss him as Logan, so I'm one of those guys that whenever I see him, I'm like, come on, man, just one more. Come on, we'll do it together. It'll be fun. Come on 3. Here we go, together. 1, 2, 3, together. And it's always just me saying it, end quote. For me, I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'd want to see this. Now, there's two different ways to look at this. If they recast Wolverine, then, well, you probably definitely get a Deadpool Wolverine crossover. But I just don't know. I don't think I'd want that. Because if I did want this, I would want it to be Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds because it would kind of make up for the Wolverine origin stuff. Look, it'd be cool. And it'd be fun. It'd probably be a lot of fun. But then again, like I said, I'm on the fence because Logan was so good. And it was such a great send-off for the character. Or at least for the actor, anyway. As the character. I debated on whether or not to talk about this. I probably shouldn't be saying this because I shouldn't be saying it. Hell with it. Because of a review embargo. But I've had the chance to see Deadpool 2. While I can't or won't say in what capacity Wolverine may or may not be involved in this movie, I will say that, of course, there is some Wolverine jokes in the movie, and they are pretty great. That's the last I'm going to say about that. Next, I want to talk about the possible Han Solo sequels. I mentioned on the show that Alden Ehrenreich let it slip that he was signed on for 3 movies, including Solo, which is coming out in the next couple weeks. And of course, this instantly makes us think that we are getting a Solo trilogy, but this is not the case. Yet, anyway. When asked about the rumors of a Solo trilogy, the director of the upcoming movie, Ron Howard, had this to say about it. Quote, I think the fans are going to define all of that. I mean, I think that Lucasfilm and Disney in casting actors, and particularly younger actors, want to see what happens and build upon that. Certainly they want the commitment from the young actors, but there are no concrete plans, end quote. This is going to be a short story. Long story short, we know Solo is going to make bank, given the pre-sale business that it's already done. But it will be a strong critical and fan response that will determine if we are going to get more, quote, adventures of young Han Solo. They could do this one or two different ways, maybe. You could always do more Solo movies, because who knows how far this one's going to go. I mean, it isn't going to jump years as far as I know anyway. It might, I guess. But they could always include, say they do a story of younger Boba Fett. You could involve Ehrenreich in that too, having him chase Han Solo or whatever. I mean, there's many different ways you could use him as Han Solo. It could be flashbacks in newer movies. I mean, there's always that. Who knows what their plans for him are. But we'll find out at least the beginning of it in a couple weeks. Sticking with Star Wars, we're going to be talking about the Return of the Jedi's original main villain. On May the 4th, because of course on May the 4th, it was revealed by Craig Miller, who was Lucasfilm's first fan relations officer, that Boba Fett, not Darth Vader, was going to be the main villain in Return of the Jedi. But apparently, George Lucas changed his mind during the making of The Empire Strikes Back. And let me explain this. Star Wars was originally going to be 12 movies, but Lucas kind of lost interest in continuing the series and scrapped all of his plans. Miller had this to say about that. Quote, while we were working on The Empire Strikes Back, George decided he was going to complete the first film trilogy, and that would be it. And I remember sitting in a mixing room with George working on Empire, and he told me he was just going to make the third movie, which didn't have a title at that point, and then stop. When Lucas decided not to make subsequent trilogies, he took the plot of the third trilogy, the confrontation between Luke and Darth Vader and the battle with the Emperor, and reduced it all into one film. As a result, Boba Fett was jettisoned out of the film in the first 10 minutes of Return of the Jedi. But it explains why he was taking Han Solo away and why there was a thing with him in the Christmas special. I have 2 takeaways from this quote. 1, because Lucas lost interest, Boba Fett went from being the big bad to getting killed by a blind guy with a stick. And no, the extended universe stuff where he escapes the Sarlacc pit doesn't count anymore, unless Disney adds it in. And 2, the Star Wars Christmas special does truly exist. I would have liked to have seen that, because could you imagine the rescue of Han Solo being, 1 or 2 movies, or I don't know, it probably wouldn't have been called Return of the Jedi. It would have been something about the rescue of Han Solo or something, but it would have been interesting to see where Lucas would have taken it if he was going to do that many movies. Granted, I have this bad feeling that, I don't know, because there wouldn't have been a huge gap in between the last movie and the prequels. Because even if he would have done the episodes 1, 2, and 3 later, if he would have been making more movies, we're talking, tons of trilogies, like there's 3 different trilogies, because if there's going to be 12 movies, I think things like the CG and the effects and everything, I believe they wouldn't have been as jarring of a change as they were between seeing the practical effects of the original trilogy and all of a sudden we're getting a CGI overload with the prequels. So it sounded like he was going to do 3 trilogies and then go back and do the prequels. So, I'm not sure how they would have turned out. I would have been curious to see it, though. And I don't know, who knows if he would have ran out of stuff to write, because we all know he kind of ran out of stuff to write with the prequels. But it would have been interesting to see what Lucas would have done with Star Wars as a whole if it was going to be 12 movies instead of what we got, the 6 that we got, not counting the new Disney stuff. Next, we're going to talk about Rambo 5. While I'm not really surprised by this, it's been confirmed that Sly Stallone is working on a new Rambo movie. Stallone will reprise his role as Vietnam veteran John Rambo. He is writing the screenplay, but it's not likely that he'll direct the project. The story is supposed to be about Rambo trying to rescue a friend's kidnapped daughter. And Rambo, who's been working on a ranch, finds himself crossing the U.S.-Mexican border and going up against one of Mexico's most violent cartels. The movie is set to be released fall of next year, which, I can't imagine shooting a Rambo movie. If you're using practical effects for the violence, that might take a little bit of time, but, it's probably not real CG heavy or anything. So I could see them having a movie ready by next year fall. Let me say this, though. If they don't get overly political, I don't hate the idea. Because if it's just Rambo against cartels, I could be down for that. Now, if they start doing stuff about, border security and things, I think it could be overly political. But think about it. Other than Rocky, which has been spun off beautifully with Creed and hopefully with the next Creed movie, this is the only other role I'd want to see Stallone play again. I don't want to see him repeat any other of his other movies if he's going to make, sequels or what. No one's clamoring for, granted, I love the character from Copland, but I never want to see a sequel. And, Cobra is a sign of its times, but don't want that either. And here's the thing about Rambo. Why I like the ending to the last Rambo movie, because it was trying to give closure to the character. I never could really buy that the character would ever find peace. Even, he kind of had a spiritual peace helping the missionaries in the last movie. But I don't know. I just think, that PTSD and all the stuff he went through in Vietnam, it wouldn't go away. I just don't see that being the case. Okay, you have to bear with me because I have no notes for this next section. I want to talk about my trip to see Breaking In last night. So, yesterday, I was having a good day. This week, I switched my early days at work. Usually I get off early Wednesday, but I needed to get off early on Thursday, so I switched my friend Quee. She was really cool about that. She was my favorite person yesterday. And she switched me so I could go to St. Louis to see Deadpool 2. Because it takes me about 2.5 hours to get down there, and if I would have got off my regular time, I wouldn't have made it. And so her switching me, I got to go. So I got to go see Deadpool 2, and but being that it was a Thursday, that's usually preview night for me. I got to go see a preview movie so I can record my radio segment that runs on 2 different radio stations on Fridays. So I leave St. Louis and I stop in Springfield because none of the theaters in Decatur were having 9 o'clock showing. So I stopped in Springfield because that was the closest I could get because I could still go see something. And I was trying to decide which to see. Was I going to go see Breaking In, which is the Gabrielle Union home invasion movie, or was I going to go see Melissa McCarthy's new back to school ripoff Life of the Party? And I ran into Brad Jones at the theater. He was there seeing Life of the Party, and I was talking to him, and I said, I haven't decided what I wanted to see yet. And he goes, go see Breaking In. I said, oh, you saw it already? Because he went to the first preview showing of Life of the Party. He goes, no. He said, no, it has to be better than what I just sat through. So I decided I turned on the old Movie Pass and said, yep, gonna go see Breaking In. Thanks, and I think he's seeing it today, which is Friday when I'm taping this. I think he's seeing it tonight. And I do have to say this. My reviews are coming on both of them. I just got out of Life of the Party, and even though I didn't think Breaking In was that great, it was certainly a hell of a lot better than Life of the Party. But, okay. I check in. I go to the theater, and I'm the only one in there. I'm thinking, oh, good, it's Thursday night, it's late, I might be the only one in here, and I can focus on the movie. I don't mind crowds, but, I'd rather sit in a theater by myself or with my friends or whatever, so that way I could, especially by myself, because I can analyze a movie better when there's nobody in there, and if I get frustrated with a movie, I can, get up and walk around or whatever I need to do. So I sit down, and right before the preview start, a couple walks in. Okay, fine. They go to the back. They're chatting a little bit, but it's like, okay, it's the previews. I usually don't get mad if people chat through the previews. I don't like it, but I usually don't say much. Then a trio walked in, and they went and sat one row in front of me, but all the way on the left side. I'm all the way on the right side. They're chatting a little bit. Fine. It's still previews. And then the couple of the evening walk in. Okay, I'm sitting one row in front of the last row on the right side. They come in and sit right behind me. Right behind me. And now, granted, this was a small theater. It's one of the smaller theaters in this AMC building, but there were plenty of other seats. And instantly I knew I was going to be pissed off. And forgive me if I say anything colorful during this, but it put me in a bad mood, and I'm still kind of in that mood. So instantly, they're talking too loud for the previews. Fine, So keep track. There's 8 of us in this theater. Okay, 2 groups of 2, a group of 3. There's 8 of us. So this other couple starts talking, and the movie starts, and then they get louder. And, okay, this movie had narration, but it wasn't coming from the movie, if you know what I'm saying. Anytime, let me put it this way. The other couple and the group of three, they were talking, but it was tolerable. You know, it's that talking that you don't like it, but they're not being loud enough to be a jerk about it, right? And I don't like being a jerk in the theater anyway. The last time I said something to somebody in a theater was right before A Quiet Place, because there was two girls sitting behind me. The instant the movie started, they started talking, and I had to turn around and say, because I knew sound was going to be so important, and quiet in a movie called A Quiet Place was going to be so important. So I turned around and I politely said, please don't talk during the movie. Thank you. And granted, they still played on their phones, but they shut up, and I was okay with that. But this couple behind me, I was getting commentary and narration through the entire movie. And this movie was only an hour and a half. It made it feel a lot longer. Don't get me wrong. Not having their narration would have made me enjoy the movie more, but the experience of the theater was a lot worse because this couple was behind me talking. Anytime, say, I don't know, Gabrielle Union was gonna... The premise of the movie is Gabrielle Union's character's dad dies, and they're going to this secluded house to get it ready for sale, and four guys do a home invasion. They're looking for something now. It's freaking money. Okay, they're looking for money. I don't care if I spoil this movie. They're looking for money, and they know there's a safe in the house, and they kidnap the kids, and she has to save them. It's supposed to be, primal mom saves her kids, kind of like that stupid kidnap movie with Halle Berry, but at least this one, Gabrielle Union doesn't come off as ridiculous. So the movie's not great. It's a run-of-the-mill thriller, right? It was fine, but it wasn't anything spectacular or special. But anytime Gabrielle Union would do something, or anytime something quote-unquote shocking would happen, or this character they don't like, there was this, I call him the wannabe gangsta essay. He's that typical Hispanic gangsta. You know what I'm talking about. He's tatted up. He's wearing the wife beater. He's got the mustache and the little fuzzy beard on his chin. I can't remember if he had the beard, but he at least had the mustache and kind of the slick back. You know the image I'm talking about, right? He talks around, walks around like Be Real from Cypress Hill, right? Just ese, and of course he's loco, right? Every character in this movie. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But anytime something would happen or a character would do something, they would narrate it. So Gabrielle Union's trying to break into the skylight, trying to save her kids. Oh, she's smart. She's getting them tools. She's gonna break in. She's gonna open up that skylight. Yes, we know. We're watching it. We don't need your narration. I don't know why I didn't feel like starting nothing. Because I know if I would have said something, I would have said something really mean. I think that's why I didn't say anything, because I was pissed. But I didn't say a word, because I know I would have said something I probably would have regretted. Because I was not in a nice mood. I had a headache. I was already going to lose sleep because I was watching a 9:30 movie and still had an hour trip home and had to be at work at 3 a.m. I was not in a good mood. They were the type of couple that, when couples be like, don't go in there, all the typical stuff you expect. But the funniest one was, you know that noise. Anytime something happens, But they would do it in unison, like they practiced it or something. And they were making little noises. I don't know what the noise this girl was making. I think she was taking her nails and picking at the lid of her cup. That's what it sounded like. I thought she was biting her nails at first, but it was happening way too often. You would have ran out of nails unless she was biting her toenails or something. But just, I know I've talked about this stuff before. I know I've talked about, theater etiquette before. But can't people get it through their frickin' skulls that they are annoying? Look, if you're the only one in the theater, or the only ones in the theater, like your group or your couple or just you, and you want to chat it up, fine. But if there is one other person in the theater, shut the hell up. Nobody wants to hear your commentary, except maybe your significant other, which they can shut the hell up to. Nobody wants your opinion. Nobody needs your noises. Nobody needs to be told what's going on in the movie because we're watching it. And I would have said these things last night, but I would have said them a lot meaner. I was thinking of a few choice words that I wanted to say to these people. Like, do you commentate every effing movie? Do you get paid for your service? Do you make a lot of money getting paid for this service? Would anyone buy this? I don't know what I would have said, but I know I was thinking of some mean things, and I'm the type of person that I don't want to be mean to people. I really don't. But man, do some people deserve it. They're just talking through the whole movie, commentary through the whole movie, narrating the movie. Don't go in there like the characters can hear you. Shut up. Just shut up. Look, if you're at home and want to talk through the entire damn movie, it's your home. Okay? And I almost laughed. In fact, I think I did laugh. Before a movie starts and they go, please turn off your cell phone and do not text, do not take calls, do not talk and ruin the movie for people. I laughed because I knew they were going to talk through the whole movie. And I mean, if you want to talk, go to the part of the theater where there's nobody there. If it's a packed theater, shut your mouth. But if I'm sitting in the back and you sit way up front and talk, as long as you're being somewhat quiet, it ain't going to bother me too much. Like I said, the couple behind me in the middle in the back row, yeah, they were talking a little bit. And the trio, they were talking a little bit, but they were keeping it down to where it wasn't pissing me off. But when you're being audible as I am right now during the entire movie, nobody wants to hear it. Leave. Just leave. Wait for it to come out on video. I mean, I would say that about this movie anyway. But wait for it to come out on video. Because nobody wants to hear you. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the hell up. I was a little, I was a little nicer than I would have been earlier. Maybe I've calmed down a little bit, but I don't know. Because the way I was feeling when I was at work today, there were 8 people in that theater, and I hated 7 of them. But, it's over. I got through the movie. Chances are I'll probably run them in another theater, I'm sure, or people like them. And I'll feel this way again, and I'll probably have to rant on it again. But anyway, that's the end of my story time with Geno and my trip to see Breaking In. Let's move on to quick hits. Here we go. J.J. Abrams is wanting to get into the superhero game. He will be producing a movie called The Heavy, which will be an original property. Not much is known yet about the movie except that Abrams wants Son of a Gun and the upcoming Overlord director Julius Avery to helm the project. Guy Ritchie is getting back into the British gangster genre with his new movie Tough Guys. It didn't take this one long to get rolling. Miramax has bought up the rights to the film for somewhere around $30 million. I, for one, am looking forward to Ritchie getting back to his roots, especially after that King Arthur movie he just made. Both Bill Cosby and Roman Polanski have been expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and somehow Polanski is surprised by this. Is surprised by this. I guess I would be too if I drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl, but then years later was given an Academy Award. Ben Kingsley and Ezra Miller have both been cast to play Salvador Dali in the biopic Daliland. Kingsley will play the older version of the iconic surrealist painter, while Miller plays him as his younger self in flashbacks. No release date has been set for this movie. Benedict Cumberbatch will once again take part in a Cold War spy game thriller called Ironbark. While I'd rather see him revisit his role from Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in a sequel instead, I'm still down for this spy thriller based on a true story. The What We Do in the Shadows TV series, based on the cult favorite, has been picked up for a 10-episode first season by FX. But this is not the only What We Do in the Shadows project in the works. The creators of the movie are also developing a sequel spin-off movie based on the movie's werewolves called Werewolves. Avengers Infinity War is the fastest movie to hit $1 billion worldwide, and that was a week ago. The movie, as of this taping, sits at $1.251 billion worldwide. John Lithgow has joined Jason Clarke in the Pet Sematary remake. He will be playing the role of Judd Crandall, which was famously played by Fred Gwynne in the original movie. I'm still putting my money on Jacob Tremblay being cast as Gage. Bruce Willis has been cast in Corner Man, which is based on the life of Cus D'Amato, the man credited with discovering Mike Tyson. Tyson even credits this down on his luck trainer for saving his life as a 13-year-old boy. There is no word who will play the younger version of the legendary boxer. The Hitman's Bodyguard sequel is in the works, although none of the key cast members, including Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, have been confirmed to return. I liked the first movie and really liked the chemistry between the two actors, so I'm down for more. While the Conjuring universe made up for the terrible first Annabelle movie with the second prequel film, I had hoped that the only other time we'd see the doll would be in future The Conjuring movies. But I'd be wrong. Annabelle 3 is in the works, but who knows where it can go story-wise since the prequel led right into the first movie. Sherlock Holmes 3 is finally happening. Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, and hopefully Jared Harris as Moriarty, are returning as Holmes and Watson. It is slated to be in theaters on Christmas of 2020, which makes it a 9-year gap between sequels. I guess RDJ can be forgiven. I mean, he has been kind of busy the last 10 years doing those other movies. Bill and Ted 3, or Bill and Ted Face the Music, is official. As we talked about on this program a while back, both Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are both on board for the sequel. Galaxy Quest director Dean Parisot is directing this long-awaited movie. MGM owns the rights, and the movie is being released under the Orion Pictures banner. Excellent. Leica's new stop-motion animated movie now has its title, called Missing Link. Hugh Jackman will star as Sir Lionel Frost, who considers himself to be the world's foremost investigator of myths and monsters. Zach Galifianakis plays Mr. Link, who is the last of his kind. The movie also stars Zoe Saldana, Emma Thompson, Stephen Fry, and Timothy Olyphant. Rick Moranis is returning to acting to play one of his most iconic roles. Sorta. Moranis will once again be playing the role of Dark Helmet from Spaceballs, but in voiceover form only. He'll be performing the role on the ABC TV show The Goldbergs. Moranis has said that he'd only return to acting if the role is something that he could really get behind. So if Moranis' reluctance to return to acting has been any indication, him returning for this role must be a good thing. Burt Reynolds, Kurt Russell, Tim Roth, and Michael Madsen are in talks to join Quentin Tarantino's next film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If cast, they will join Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in the movie. Another sought-after cast member for that movie is now official for it. Margot Robbie is officially signed on for the movie to play the role of Sharon Tate. Bad Boys for Life, starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, has finally gotten a release date. The Boys will be back in action on January 17th, 2020. And lastly, You Are My Friend, which stars Tom Hanks as the beloved Fred Would You Be Mine? Could You Be Mine? Won't You Be My Neighbor? Rogers is slated for October 18th, 2019, signaling that they will probably be trying this or releasing this movie for an Oscar bid. And that's the end of Quick Hits. A little bit of a channel update. As I've talked about before, I'm trying this new way of doing movie reviews. It's a little bit more unscripted. It's called Talkin' Movies. On the channel right now, you can see my review or my thoughts on the anime-inspired Batman Ninja. Also, keep an eye this weekend for my reviews of Breaking In, Life of the Party, and more. Geno's Bad at Games will be returning soon. As I said last time, I've been doing a lot of shorter games lately, but I'm ready to start a longer version game. Unless I change my mind, I'm going to be starting the Game of Thrones RPG, which is a role-playing game based on the first book of the series as well as the first season of the show. I really don't know what to expect. I think there's 2 different stories, and it's original characters as far as I know that you're playing as, but there's characters from the books and movies, and I know there's a few voices because I've kind of looked at the beginning of it, and there's a couple voices. If you watch the show, you know who they are. If you're wanting to find out the latest things that's going to be happening with me and with my shared partnership with Heisenerd on the GB3 channel, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, where you can find me on at the Reel Geno and the Reel Geno respectively. That's ReelGeno. Since YouTube won't let us have that little message board thing if you don't have however many subscribers, and it's a lot, we definitely rely on Twitter and Facebook for this type of stuff. So if you really want to know what's going on in between videos and projects, definitely keep in touch with me on there. And lastly, I want to draw your attention to a few different things. As always, the Geek Cube channel. The GB3 podcast is kind of on a hiatus at the moment. We're trying to just figure out what we want to do with it. I think we're going to be moving to once a month, and we maybe just be trying different things, a different format. But also on the channel, though, next week, Bill and I will be taking a look at the YouTube Red show Cobra Kai, which continues the Karate Kid series, and this will be a spoiler review because we're just going to talk. When Bill and I get together, we just don't want filters and limits, so we're just going to talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about with that show. Also, I want to draw your attention to my partner in crime's channel, Heisenerd. I asked that you at least take a look at his channel, and if you like what you see, subscribe to it. He does gaming live streams and Let's Plays. He's playing through a Dragon Warrior game right now, and of course I can't remember which number it is. I believe it was 4. I'm sure Desiree will let me know if I'm right or wrong. But he's playing through that. He also does a podcast called Heisenerd Speaks. And just, if you like his channel, check it out. He's at like 31 subscribers, and look, he doesn't have a goal of making this his career, but if you like my channel and you like that, we just try to have fun on this channel, you'll like his channel too, because he's got a mindset, a similar mindset to me when it comes to YouTube. We're not in this for the drama. We're not in this to start shit with people. We're in this to have a good time and just have fun and talk to people and just do it, just have a good time on this format that should be about having a good time. That's why I enjoy doing it, and I want to see him grow too, because first of all, I have my gaming segment. He's a way better gamer than I am, even though if you watch our our last verses on his channel. And Bill, I'm just talking crap here. We played Mario Party 4, and I kind of cleaned his clock. Much to my surprise, to be honest. But no, we're gonna do some more Let's Plays together, whether we're teaming up or going against each other on his channel as well. So if you want to see those, make sure to subscribe to his channel. Help get his subscriptions up, especially if you like what you see. Just give his channel a chance, and see if we can get that up. But as always, guys, thank you so much for the support. That's all I got this week for Get on the Mic. It's been a long week, and I've still got a lot of work to do. Again, keep an eye on the channel for more reviews over the weekend. I should at least have 1 or 2 more videos up on this channel. So anyway, it's all for Get on the Mic. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, I'm the Reel Geno Reynolds. Peace.